Hi, this is Malacold, and today we are going to be putting Guts, the album by Olivia Rodrigo, as books. This isn't exactly a book recommendation video, it's just what these songs remind me of, but in book format. So, let's start with All American B-Word. First book that came to mind was Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm sexy and I'm kind. I'm pretty when I cry is very much reminiscent of like the hardship that Daisy Jones goes through, everything that she sort of feels, but she's pretty, she's American, she's like this very forefront image of America. That was just the first book that came to mind. So All American B-Word is Daisy Jones and the Six. Bad Idea Right is The Risk by Elle Kennedy. Idea Right, I immediately thought of this book. The main character essentially gets into a physical relationship with a player from like a rival team. So obviously she knows it's a bad idea. The whole time it's sort of implied that like this is taboo. On top of that, her dad is like the coach of the team, and then his team is their rival team. So it's like sort of double the bad. I don't know, something about Bad Idea just reeks of The Risk by Elle Kennedy. Match made in heaven. Bad Idea Right is The Risk by Elle Kennedy. Vampire. I really struggled with this one actually, but I think the closest book I've read that has any correlation to this would be The Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan. Bleeding me dry and sort of just like this person constantly taking so much from you and not giving back enough. It has one of the best writing about cheating that I've ever read. I love it so much. This guy who's writing The Lover's Dictionary is basically just so in love with this girl who is sort of just not very nice or caring of him. It feels like a very one-sided relationship based off of the things that he says. Obviously there's miscommunication and there's a lot of issues on both ends, but Vampire just very strongly reminds me of this book. Lacey. Lacey is kind of a new sound for Olivia. I really did not expect that song to sound the way it did. It takes over my life. I see you everywhere. The sweetest torture one could bear. Sounds like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo to me. Something about just the way that she describes Lacey very much is reminiscent of someone who's jealous of, but also sort of a little bit in love with or in awe with Lacey, and I think Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo very much covers that general feeling. Next, one of my favorite songs, Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl. The chorus is so good. I think I broke a glass, I tripped and fell, I told secrets I shouldn't tell, is reminiscent of Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. I think when the main character, who is very odd and sort of not very mainstream, I guess, or basic or normal, goes into a school, she sort of converts everyone into being like her, and everyone really likes her in the beginning. They think she's odd, but then they start sort of conforming to her ideals or expectations or things like that, and then they begin to turn on her. At that point, Ballad of a Homeschool Girl should play. It's really good. The correlation here is very strong. Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. The next song is Making the Bed. Making the Bed gives such strong The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath vibes. Another piece of plastic I could just throw away. Another conversation with nothing good to say. They're both sort of like in this kind of slightly depressed state. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Logical. Love Is Never Logical was really hard. I had books for almost all of the songs already as I was listening to them, but not for Logical. I was re-listening to it. I thought of The Light Between Oceans by Emil Stedman. Basically, the girl falls in love with this man, and they both have this very kind of young, nurturistic love that neither of them were very prepared for, I guess, the responsibilities of marriage and the things that they go through and the moral dilemmas they have trying to keep the other person happy was very reminiscent of Logical. I don't know, the song very much reminded me of that book once I listened to it a few times. Their relationship went so fast. The compromises that they both make are so contradictory with their morals, and it's just, love isn't logical. Get him back, and then again I miss him and it makes me feel real sad. Immediately I thought of Punk 57. I don't want to spoil. Essentially, the male and female lead know each other and then lose contact, and when they lose contact, she thinks that he is mad at her or has outgrown this relationship or something. Song 57 by Penelope Douglas. Next track, Love is Embarrassing. I told my friends you were the one after I'd known you for like a month. Song of Achilles. Like, Song of Achilles is kind of love at first sight in my brain. So Love is Embarrassing, Song of Achilles, especially because of the ending. I'm not gonna spoil, but Love is Embarrassing. And also, I have another book rec for this. When I heard the line, just watch as I crucify myself for some weird second string loser who's not worth mentioning, I immediately thought of Dreamology. I don't want to spoil the book. The guy sort of brushes her off about something that they're both going through, but when they acknowledge it publicly, he sort of shuts her out about it. And I was just like, you guys are both going through this. Like, excuse you. He was just very rude about it, and I thought of that scene in my brain. Love is Embarrassing is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller and Dreamology by Lucy Keating. The Grudge is such a good song. I'm in love with that song. I've been playing it on repeat already. Catch me in 2 weeks hating the song because I over-listened to it. But anyways, Hurt People, and We Both Drew Blood, but man, those cuts were never equal, hit me in the soul, man. Like, I was listening to that and I was just like, take me to the grave. The book that I thought of immediately as I was reading, like even just The Grudge, was What Girls Are Made Of by Elena K. Arnold, because the things that girl goes through in that book, I can only imagine how traumatizing and like emotionally wrecking that is. Not gonna spoil the book, but The Grudge is the song that I associated with it, so that should be a spoiler in of itself. What Girls Are Made Of by Elena K. Arnold. For Pretty Isn't Pretty, I couldn't exactly think of a book where the central theme reminds me of this song, but I could think of books immediately where this was sort of a side theme or something that the character goes through. You can win the battle, but you'll never win the war. I could change up my body and change up my face. I could try lipstick in every shade, but I'd always feel the same. Immediately, I thought of I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. I resonate with that book so much just because, you know, first generation immigrant, etc. The insecurities that she has that are so prevalent throughout the book are very reminiscent of Pretty Isn't Pretty. Like, no matter how much you try, you sort of still don't feel pretty sometimes, and it's not necessarily about visual looks. Sometimes it's about how you feel. You don't feel worthy enough. You don't feel pretty enough. I also associated another book with Pretty Isn't Pretty. It's Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry, which I think is so underrated. I don't see anyone talking about that book. I think it's because the cover is sort of cringy. In that book, both the female and male lead are so traumatized and going through so much emotionally, and they're both so young. The girl has scars in the book. This is not a spoiler. It starts out with something like this, and so it is sort of a journey for her to accept those scars and view them as beautiful rather than just something on her skin that is scary for other people. There's a specific scene where the female lead goes into the cafeteria and is eating and just can feel people staring at her, and it's like, it's all around, it's all the time. I don't know why I even try. So for Pretty Isn't Pretty, it's I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter and Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. Last track, Teenage Dream. Had a lot of trouble coming up with a singular book for. I think various areas of the song remind me of different books. So I have 2 books for this one as well. The first line that it starts with, when am I gonna stop being wise beyond my years and just start being wise, reminded me of Malibu Rising. I think that the main character in that book, she had to grow up very fast, and I think for her, a lot of her character is just sort of being like a mom figure, and am I gonna be just wise and not wise beyond my years, or like an adult figure? I love Malibu Rising. I love everything by Taylor Jenkins Reid, so that's not surprising, but still. They say that it gets better, but what if I don't? That line reminded me of How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. If you've read that book, the ending, I hate it so much. Ruins the entire point of the book. The book itself was annoying as is, but I could understand that being a premise or a theme, or like it being done purposefully. The main character very much despises her family. hence the title. Her constantly telling herself that like she can get better, like everything could be better, and then her going on this path of killing her family. I think it's reminded me of, they say it gets better, but what if I don't? What if it doesn't get better? What if this is it? And that sort of logic led her to Teenage Dream is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid and How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. I've been in this basement for 40 minutes. And that is it. That was Guts as book associations. So this was Malicold. I hope you have an amazing whatever day it is for you, and see you in the next video.